I urge everybody to go watch the video that we've recorded earlier. Not going to be available to the public. They can find it at londonreal.tv/Jim, where you talk about the upcoming geopolitical shockwave, but also how anyone can position themselves to profit from this crisis. Jim, I want to finish with what you call the green scam. You're probably going to get censored for that. And also, any thoughts on RFK? I know we just briefly talked about him, but any chances he has in spoiling the election? Also, if he goes independent, can that keep Biden out or any Democrat out? Just your thoughts on those final two issues.
Yeah, I'll be real quick on RFK Jr. So the first in the nation primary for a long time is the New Hampshire primary. By the way, I'm coming to you from New Hampshire. I live here. I vote here. It's great. So what happened in 2020? Biden finished fifth in the New Hampshire primary, fifth after Sanders and Klobuchar and Warren and Pete Buttigieg was the other one, like 8% of the vote, like not even close. So everyone panicked because it was clear that Sanders was going to be the leading candidate, and Biden, they wrote him off. Well, the next big primary was South Carolina. It was like a week or so later. Well, South Carolina, Republicans and Democrats, if you take the Democrat electorate only, it's about 80% African American. They're heavily influenced they're very religious, heavily influenced by church pastors. The boss is James Clyburn, who's 80 something, but I don't know, Martin Luther King back in the day. So the word goes out, Biden has to win South Carolina, has to win. The other candidates dialed down. Biden did win by 45% of the vote, which is a lot in a five-way race. Within days, Buttigieg drops out. Sanders didn't. Amy Klobuchar drops out. Tom Steyer, whatever his name is, he drops out. Here comes Super Tuesday. Biden wins big on Super Tuesday. Never looked back. They rigged that. Now, I'm not saying they fixed the voting machines. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about politically, they engineered that victory. So now it's 2024. What does the Democratic National Committee do? They say South Carolina is the first primary and New Hampshire is not. Because again, they're just rigging this for Biden. By the way, it screws RFK, and I'll come back to that. So, but they made one mistake, usually as usual. In New Hampshire, the first primary in the country, it's not like a whim or a party thing. It's in the state statutes. It's a state law. We have a Republican governor. Both houses of the legislature are controlled by Republicans. And first in the nation primary is state law. So you can't just move it, except to put it first. So New Hampshire's insisting on that. And RFK Jr. can run in New Hampshire. Biden won't run because he's a vassal of the NC. So, and I said a while ago, RFK Jr. is in a good position to win the New Hampshire primary. How do you ignore that? Well, what they've now said is that, okay, if New Hampshire goes first or tries to, first they said, any delegates you win will not be seated at the convention. So that was the first thing they said. But in our case, so I'm running anyway. And then they changed it. They said, if you even set foot in New Hampshire before the election, forget about whether you win or not. If you set foot in New Hampshire, all of your delegates will be disqualified. So RFK Jr. is looking at this, and he said, you know what? Who's more Democrat than a Kennedy, right? I mean, his uncle was president, his father was senator, presidential candidate. You know the history of the Kennedys. And he said, but they're doing everything. The other thing, this is a disgrace, man. This is a disgrace. Joe Biden has denied Secret Service protection to RFK Jr.
Yeah, I saw that, and
Kennedy was just approached by a guy. He had two holsters, both fully loaded, semi-automatic pistols, and a U.S. Marshal's badge, which was stolen, but he had the badge, approaching Kennedy as security, unfortunately. But Kennedy has to hire private security. They wheeled this guy out. He got arrested. After the history of Kennedy family assassinations, now, okay, you're one fraction, 1%, maybe you don't get it, but 20%, sorry, no, you get Secret Service protection. So Biden, if anything happens, heaven forbid, Biden will have blood on his hands. So between that and what I described about New Hampshire, so Kennedy is now saying he may have to go third party. He doesn't want to, but he feels that he owes it to his supporters and his donors and his staff. If he's serious about it, he said, I may have to do that now. So, and he may. So who else is out there? Joe Manchin, the maverick Democratic senator from West Virginia, is flirting with the idea of running on the No Labels Party. I kind of worked with the presidential campaign in a third-party context, so I know a little bit about this. And Cornel West, who's a genius, is running on the Green Party. Now, Cornel West he says, I'm a non-Marxist socialist. Fine. He's a radical professor, Harvard, Princeton, Columbia Union Theological Seminary, etc. You can agree or disagree with Cornel West's positions, but you cannot deny he's brilliant. He's a brilliant rhetorician. He's charismatic. So if he's running on Green and Joe Manchin's running on No Labels, and Kennedy comes up with another third party, there are a couple of them out there. Forget the Democrats. I mean, those three guys are all Democrats or socialists, but they could draw 20% of the vote, forget 5%. And then the Democrat will be buried. And that may explain why Gavin Newsom is saying, I'll just wait till 2028. So it's a disgrace. By the way, Joe Biden keeps talking about threats to democracy. Yeah, democracy is on the ticket. Well, he's right. It is on the ballot. He's right. It is on the ballot. And he's the threat, because just look at what the Democrats are doing. And so your other quick lightning round question was,
last one was what you call the green fraud. You'd like to talk about that, but windmills and everything else.
Scam. Well, it's been clear from the start that the data was either corrupted or, here's the thing. If you say this guy, Michael Mann, it was at Penn State, now University of Pennsylvania. He's the guy who came up with the hockey stick curve and all that stuff. Al Gore had a scissor lift because it was so vertical. If you criticize him, he sues you. So that's just his thing. And people criticize his data, and he sued them for defamation. And what I would say is, I'll leave the data to him. I'm not picking on his data. The problem was never the data; it's the model. And it wasn't his model; it was the United Nations model and variations of that. I don't care if your data is good, bad, or indifferent. If you stick it in a flawed model, you can get any result you want. And that's been the problem all along. You can't model the climate. I mean, you can try. I happen to have studied the models. I've studied complexity theory. If you know anything about complexity theory, you would look at this problem and stop after about 5 minutes. It's like, well, we'll keep trying, but no, this thing is way, way too complex. And the smart people have said that. And so where we are, and I was very encouraged by this the other day, well, a couple of weeks ago, I guess, there was a petition or a statement, kind of the equivalent of the Great Barrington Declaration that Jay Bhattacharya did. And it's only one or 2 pages. And it says, there is no climate emergency. There is, CO2 is plant food. If we cut it down, we'll also die of starvation, because it's not a pollutant. It's not poison. It's plant food, etc. They've got 1,600 signatories. But when I say 1,600, this is not a petition. Every one of them is a climatologist, a physicist, a complexity theorist, someone with expertise in exactly what we're talking about, including 2 Nobel Prize winners. So when Andrew Mitchell gets on TV and says, Michael Mann says this, is like, okay, he's entitled to his opinion. I got 1,600, including Nobel Prize winners, saying the opposite. So the debate is shifting. It's being exposed. Why is the UAW on strike in several auto plants? It's not, well, yeah, they want more wages. Of course they do, but it's because of electric vehicles. That's what they're concerned about. And just one quick footnote, the Secretary of Energy, she's a nut, radical, Jennifer Granholm. She did this big publicity thing. They put like a convoy of cars together, big fat SUVs and Cadillacs, but they were all EVs. And they're like, we're going to drive from point A to point B and charge along the way and show everybody this works. They ran out of power. They got to the charging station. There was a line. So they sent a advanced car, like an internal combustion engine, like the kind I buy, racing ahead to park at one of the chargers to hog the space, so that when the secretary showed up, she could get her rapid charging kit. The rest of them were left behind, by the way. It was just this one, just her was going to continue. there was a family, there were a bunch of people, but there was a family with like tired kids, little kids waiting in line when the secretary's car pulled up to the front of the line. They called the police. They're like, you can't do that. You can't hog the charger. And the police came and told them to, basically get their butts out of there or they were going to get arrested. So they just kind of muddled through it, but it was a total failure, a total embarrassment, and a very good example of the fact that EVs are just not practical. I call them golf carts.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, it's Brian Rose, founder of the DeFi Academy. I've told you my 4-week crypto bootcamp is amazing, but don't take my word for it. This is what my students are saying.
The DeFi Academy was an amazing experience for me. It took me totally out of my comfort zone.
In this course, I was challenged, I was held accountable, and pushed to do things that honestly weren't always easy.
It's been phenomenal, and I can't believe we're already up on our 4 weeks. It has flown by.
Going through this DeFi accelerator by far was one of the best courses I've taken.
You do this course, you really get into the nitty-gritty of the activities that will make you comfortable with decentralized finance.
Thank you so much to Brian and everyone at London Real and the DeFi Academy for even putting together an amazing course like this.
Anybody else that wants to do it, please sign up. It is well worth the money.